The first time I ever looked up top-level play from a player on my weapon, I remember feeling like I wasn't learning very much because it just looked too easy, too natural. It seemed like a very lucky game for them, like every fight that started on the map was right in front of them at a range they could fight from and in a position they had a good angle on. Of course they win those. This isn't a match where I'm seeing them really have to flex their muscles as a top player. They're never getting put in tough positions to play from. But I started to adjust my perspective as the session went on, realizing, no, that's not luck. Every fight that's going well is going well because it's being set up well. They're taking in the information on screen and processing it, recognizing where they'll have the most impact, avoiding places where they can't have an impact or will be in danger, and then being in that position that works for them, so the execution phase of the fight is the easiest part of the fight. They don't need to outplay, because they've given themselves all the advantages they could ask for. That's more powerful than being able to wriggle your way out of a bad situation. Something that's a common theme in lessons I teach is that players will often not put themselves in positions where their weapon is likely to have an advantageous fight. I have a couple videos talking about positioning as a frontline or backline weapon and some general suggestions about where to position depending on your weapon's range, but there are a bunch of weapon-specific quirks that I can't cover in a general guide like that, and it's your job as someone who mains any given weapon to know that weapon's quirks. If your teammate were to ask you, hey, can you hold plat well with your weapon? You should have an answer ready for that. If, for example, you have a weapon with some decent range, it stands to reason that you should put yourself in positions where you can see and shoot at someone who's far away from you. If your weapon has short range, on the other hand, you want to be avoiding open sight lines, staying out of sight and maintaining stealth, and sticking close to places where you've got something to hide behind until you're in range to do damage yourself. High ground gives you access to an open sight line that you can cut by backing up more quickly than an opponent can cut by moving forward. Being pressed up against cover with straight line weapons means that an engagement can't happen until someone's right on top of you. Being pressed up against cover with a weapon that isn't just straight line of sight though, like a blaster, a bucket, a roller, now that's a position where an opposing straight line weapon can't shoot at you until they're right on top of you, but you can shoot at them sooner than that. Grates suck for everybody, but they're more useful to weapons with long range that benefit from being able to shoot down through the grates and zone people out from ever getting close enough to displace them, and also whoever's happier running than they are swimming. So splatlings really like being on grates. But blasters also really like being below grates, because unlike on the ground, they can very reliably get splats because players' only method of escape from their huge AoE blast radius is walking away from it instead of swimming. How does your weapon's range stack up against the ranges of the opposing side's weapons? Does your weapon have a 3D component to its shots, letting you hit up over ledges or around blind corners? Does it have a bomb that helps you zone opponents away even if your main weapon can't do that from the range that you're trying to do it? Can you paint for yourself or otherwise quickly disengage? The answers to these questions should lead you to answers to other questions, namely, where your weapon wants to be standing on any given map. Instead of just wandering out onto the map and figuring out what happens from there, think about the positions your weapon likes and plan out a way to end up in those places as often as you can without being predictable about it. Heck, some positions are powerful enough that it doesn't matter if they're predictable. I know when I see an enemy ballpoint splatling on Manta Maria that it's going to be standing up on the grates in the middle of the map. That doesn't mean I'm necessarily going to be able to do anything about it by myself, though. Now, no weapon can stay in a position that's beautiful for it all the time. Sometimes you are going to have to move from one strong position to another, and the transition between the two puts you in some spots that are a little bit more dangerous. But you should only be doing those kinds of transitions once your team has won a fight, you've got some kind of advantage, you have the ability to move forward, or you need to fall back to a different position. And you're going to minimize the amount of time that you spend in these dead zones, in these areas that aren't safe for you, so that you can stay for as long as possible in the positions that work. On a team, when you're game planning for a certain map mode, this is the kind of thinking that should guide you. When you're pushing the tower, You need this area to be clear of enemy players so it doesn't get shot at. Which weapon on your team is going to be good at clearing that area? Which weapon fights well over that particular spot? Have that weapon take that position. Don't have a weapon that's good there? Maybe the comp is the problem. Have another weapon trying to clear that area, making it too crowded for the weapon that's better at clearing it to do it themselves? Now your team can talk that out and find the player a better position for the push. The sharing of knowledge and debating and compromising that comes from this process will leave your team with a plan. A plan that will make you inherently faster and more coordinated. Even if the plan is really weak and poorly considered, if you try the plan in matches, you now have new information with which to revise the plan. Better to have some thinking on this, and then challenge that thinking by analyzing whether it played out according to your thinking, than to have done no thinking at all. I'll never say that it's not valuable to be able to fight your way out of weak positions. But if you take the technical skill it takes to be able to do that, and put yourself in a strong position instead, now you're a lot more likely to win. So next time you're going through a match you played and you see a fight you lost and go, I just need to hit my shots next time, catch yourself and spare a thought for the question, should I even have been standing there in the first place? Look back 5 or even 10 seconds in the game and think, was this fight avoidable? Could I have seen it coming and been in a better position to take it? I think a lot of players will benefit more from that kind of thinking than they will from thinking about how to outplay their opponent after their feet were already painted and their hand was forced.